Savate, which literally means hit with the foot low, but that's the way they say low kick. Now, you'll see a lot of guys in modern MMA start to bring this in. You know, John Jones is quite famous for using it. They refer to it as the oblique kick, which I believe is a Jeet Kune Do term. Not a Jeet Kune Do guy, so I don't care about that. But the Coup de pied bas is it is a massive, massive part of Savate, and one of the very first things that you learn how to do. It is certainly not a finishing technique. It's usually an entry technique, but it is a fantastic tool to use to start taking away somebody's mobility, because you should be hitting hard with it. I'm not just going right? I'm not aiming to do that. You're actually trying to hurt the guy's leg. In fact, Charlemagne says that you're aiming to break his tibia. That's great, right? Yeah. So now here's the thing. Remember, I'm in bare feet right now. Charles is in bare feet right now, but Savate is a shoe-wearing art. The shoe is integral to it. Savate literally means old shoe. And down in Marseille, they call this chausson, which means slipper. The idea is that you're wearing shoes with it. And if you're talking old marching boots or riding boots, this is where a lot of the stabbing with the toes thing comes in, and a lot of the low kicks end up coming out with the toe. Now, we can't do that in bare feet, and even if you're wearing wrestling shoes or actual proper Savate shoes, which don't actually have a reinforced toe in them, you can't really do a lot with the toe to the shin unless you spend a lot of time conditioning your toes, and I don't want to do that. So what you end up doing is either kicking with the heel or the sole of the foot. So the way Charlemagne described it is pretty cool. So there's the basic way to throw the kick, and there's 4 defenses, which you should know because that's how common this kick is. Now keep this in mind. In the old form, they drop the hands. In the modern form, you don't drop the hands. You want to keep your hands up on guard. But the way they did it back then was for like maximum effect. They're literally throwing everything they can to lever that kick in because they want to damage your leg, right? It was not thrown as a jab so much as it was, trying to actually take away your mobility, take away your efficacy as a fighter. So when we throw the kick, if Charles and I are on guard, right, and Charles is not taking a historical guard right now, and that's semi, but that's fine. We don't need to maintain these historical guards too much. There is benefit to them, but we don't have to be super strict to that. But I'm going to be a little bit more strict to it since I'm talking about the historical stuff. So the way Charlemagne describes this is you bend the leg and you actually kind of launch yourself off, almost like you're jumping or running, and you let the foot pass. And he actually says, like, without tension, relax. You want the foot to be like a whip. And you let the foot pass by, and then you extend it hard in. And now in the picture again, looks like a toe kick. He's a little ambiguous in the text what he's actually hitting with. Although he does say something about the foot being crossways during the path of flight. So even at this point, when they're wearing skin boots, they may have already transitioned to a crossways turn as opposed to a toe tip. Okay. And what he recommends is as your foot passes your leg, right? So you stand on guard, as your foot passes, as you start whipping out, you throw your hands down to throw everything, boom, into that kick. Now again, I don't recommend this in the modern setting because you're just going to get punched in the face. Not because this kick doesn't work, it works fine, but it doesn't work any better than a jab does, and it's easy to absorb a few of them, especially if you're wearing soft shoes and you're not talking about like hard leather-soled riding boots or hobnail boots or something, right? And especially in bare feet, all I'm going to do is irritate the shin, but it's not bad as a jab, so as long as I keep this going, I can still work my combos and things like that. It's fine. But that being the case, Charlemagne says, hey, this can damage your leg. So you've got 4 options. Option number 1, he just dodges. It's a simple dodge. All he has to do is lift the front leg. So as I throw, he just lifts the front leg. And Charlemagne makes a special case to say, you do that and you immediately counter. Excuse me, that is purposefully done to be a counter type maneuver because you're not changing measure at all. You're not doing a full escape. Maybe you're pretty convinced that your timing is better or that you will just have a better level of skill, whatever. So I do this, and then he comes down and hits me, right, with something. That's the idea, which is part of why we switched to a stand on guard thing, right? Now, his secondary escape is to step back. So, or sorry, not just step back, to actually change his guard. So he's going to do a passing step backward and change into a right lead. So as I throw, it's a full escape. Now, as a fighter, I should recognize that. I should probably land forward and continue to attack. Or if I'm worried that he's got something up his sleeve, return back and break distance. Important distinction to be made, right? You don't just run in headlong. You still have to read your opponent and make a roll the dice. Guess what his intent is, and if you're experienced enough, you're generally right. All right, the next one, probably my favorite one of these, is the quick stop, which he's literally just going to throw a low side kick, a low chasse. Chasse does not mean side kick. Chasse literally just means, like, modern it means to like chase or to hunt, but it used to mean to shoot. And the idea of a chasse is that it's a direct kick as opposed to a hinging kick. So he's going to throw a low chasse lateral to my leg to stop my leg. He's just going to pick his front leg up, so as I do this, and now he's got this head-on collision going where he is intercepting me on probably the weakest part of my leg, right? Which makes it a counter in and of itself, is going to be distracting and allow him to make his own secondary counter, because again, that's not going to be a fight finisher. The very last one, and this is one that we practice here a lot, we don't see much anymore, is the kick catch. Most kick catches happen above the waist nowadays. And Savate, they don't really do a lot of kick catching too much anymore anyway. But like in Chinese boxing, Sanshi tournaments, Lei Tai tournaments, they do a lot of kick catching, but it's generally above the waist because it's risky to reach. Keep in mind, the way Charlemagne is talking about this is I'm dropping my hands. And Le Boucher, a few decades earlier, also did the hand dropping thing. This was just how the French did it, so it was safe in context. But even Charlemagne says it's risky. Right? It's an advanced maneuver, it's risky, so you should be well on your way to advance before you attempt this. And all that's going to happen is as I come in, Charles is going to put his weight on his back leg. He's going to reach down, he's going to scoop inside my ankle with his lead hand and catch, and then he can run forward and drive me over. It's a very traditional, I shouldn't say traditional, it's a very old school way to do that kick catch. Now, the problem with that is in a modern setting, I do that, he's just getting punched. Right? Now, he might still catch my leg, but it depends on how he responds to the punch, whether he keeps it or not, right? So what we're looking at is kind of one of those artifact maneuvers of it worked because that's how people fought, but people don't fight that way anymore, so be a little judicious, exercise some good prudence when you're deciding whether or not to do this. I don't like my students to reach below their waist for things. It's going to happen. I mean, if you train it, it's going to happen on occasion, but understand the risks that you take. So let's go over those four real quick in succession again, just so you have something to practice at home. I come in, first one, he just dodges. Second one, he changes his guard back. Third one, he kicks the kick. And fourth one, he catches. And from there, whatever. All right, so there's your Savate locate, coup de pied bas, and the four counters, as per Joseph Charlemagne in his 1899 manual. I'll throw you can get the PDF for free. It's not translated, but if you're willing to translate French or if you can read French, go for it. And I will talk to you guys later. Good journey.